Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you're at, ladies and gents. I am Kura Isagami, your resident Tinkerer and Medarotter, and this is the Medarot News Network, bringing you all the latest developments and happenings with our favorite pet fighting robot series. Now, this week it's going to be relatively quiet in terms of new content, aside, of course, seeing Uranade and GutsPower, which were teased last week with the initial announcement of the Rockman EXE rerun collaboration. That being said, aside from the two new bots, well, previously announced bots rather, and a couple reruns, it is going to be mostly a rehash of what to expect this week for the second half of the collaboration going forward. But despite this, we still do have a couple of really interesting pieces of information that were given, and new stuff to expect going live this week in addition to the collaboration event stuff. That being said, let's go ahead and jack in once again for part 3 of the Rockman.exe collab as we start up with the gacha banners for this week. Now, in terms of new banners, of course, Fortate, Rocktrans, Leader Colonel, and Sword Blues will continue sticking around for another few weeks. So if you've not had a chance to pick any of them up yet, do not fret. You still have plenty of time to do so. But this week, we see the introduction of RME-05 Uranade with a kit of Scrape, Wide Break, Tornado, Float Legs, and the Lars leg ability. So much like Sword Blues did with last week as a new model as well, Uranade will also be introducing 2 brand new skills to the game, 1 new skill and 1 new leg ability. Scrape, just to explain briefly, is a support attribute skill that will add Effect Clear as a passive buff to themselves or an ally's next attack for 1 turn. Lars is a new leg ability that, upon use, will buff the base damage of any gravity attribute skills enacted by the user, with a pulling from 20% of the user's shoot and melee resist on their legs. So extra damage for gravity attribute will be great for very good heavy punish on top of that. And then, of course, in addition to Uranade, we are also seeing RME-06 GutsPower with the kit of Mirror Guard, Blow Away, Power Hammer, Biped Legs, and the Trap Buster leg ability. Now, much like Rocktrans, when he was first introduced about a year ago, GutsPower will be another model that will not be introducing anything new that we've not already seen in terms of new skills or kits across the board compared to other models. That being said, he still is very tanky based on what I did see of his stats, and much like the first 4 models, these 2 will absolutely be worth going after and considering to add to your libraries. Now, in addition to the new models that we see here, we are also seeing reruns of kind of some counterpart models that we had from last week, as well as one other interesting surprise. First up on the line of rerun banners is KWG-05M Dorcas, with a kit of Radar Sight, Sword, Hammer, Biped Legs, and the leg ability of B-Loader. In addition to this, Dorcas is also capable of Meta Change, where he will exchange his kit for Hammer, Anti-Air, Anti-Sea, Multi-Legs, and the leg ability of Breakneck. Behind him, we do also see the rerun of KLN-01 Unitress, with a kit of Heater Plant, Rifle, Gatling, Biped Legs, and the Gunman leg ability. Now, like Dorcas, Unitress is also capable of meta change as well, where he exchanges his kit for a much stronger shooting version, with Cooler Plant, Power Rifle, Giga Gatling, Wheeled Legs, and the Forester leg ability. And then, last but not least, everyone's favorite Mantis Shrimp and weapon of mass destruction, WEA-01 God Emperor, with a kit of Break, Hyper Missile, Laser, Multi-Legs, and the leg ability of Auto Charge. Now, all 3 models here in particular are very, very good to use too, and you generally can't ever go wrong with pulling for any of them. But because we still do have collaboration models ongoing for the next 2 or 3 weeks, I would recommend and encourage you dump your resources towards them first. Then when you have the collaboration models you're happy with, then you could consider some other models like these, which are more than likely to come around every here and there as we see more events and as more weeks pass. Now, with the Fierce Battles we have this week, it's going to be relatively diverse in terms of the utility department, so some kind of niche skills, I guess you can call it, but still very handy to keep all the same. Starting the lineup for the Fierce Battles is TNB0 Tank Dunk, with a kit of Napalm, Missile, Gatling, Tank Legs, and the Bullet Rain leg ability. Behind him, we have GDR0 Gun Desperado, with a kit of Rifle, double anti-air, Biped legs, and the Gunman leg ability, fittingly. And then last but not least, everyone's favorite high-flying Falcon type, HWK0 Fly Falcon, with a kit of triple Napalm, Flight legs, and the Assail leg ability. Now, even though I tend not to think too highly of tank legs for the most part, thanks to a lot of buffs they've gotten in recent, such as the passive 20% damage reduction, and even then I try to stay relatively unbiased when it comes to grading all models equally wherever I can. But in this case, I would honestly have to give the MVP of the week to Tank Dunk in particular. Not necessarily that Napalm or Missile or even a Heavy Gatling are not great or super powerful, because they can be if well raised. The big thing about him in particular is his legs with the Bullet Rain ability, which will make them very good for any shooter types that need to use tank legs whenever the situation does demand it. Behind him, I would probably have to give a close second to Fly Falcon, as flight legs are generally something you can't really go wrong with, and Napalm, even if it is a scattered AoE, can also be a very handy skill to make use of, especially if you're new or just starting out in the world of Medarot. Now, the surprise that we got this week as well is that we were announced at the release of limited-time Halloween-themed Medarotters, with some very powerful skills, and might I say, are honestly going to be very game-breaking in my personal opinion, so you definitely don't want to miss out on these either, aside from the collaboration models, which may have a little more time. But, highlighting the three models here, Phantom Retort starting the line, upon activation, and upon meta change, once the skill is activated, any CG cost of that particular model will be reduced to 0 for 3 turns. This alone can be very, very dangerous just by the textbook definition here. But if you pair that off with, say, Gan King, who has perfect guard while in meta change and is immune to destroy while transformed, this can make some very, very dangerous combinations if used correctly. Behind Phantom Retort, we do also have the Phantom Lady, who offers a skill that upon activation will buff your CG gain by ×2 and will also grant a damage bonus of 30% upon activation of her skill. And then lastly, we do also have a new figure here named Moonshadow, who upon activating of his skill will swap the leg's evade and mobility stats and also buff their head heat by about 100 upon activation. Now even though this buff in particular only lasts 1 turn, as typically most other buffs do with Medarotter skills, usually, this one can be especially dangerous if you pair it with, say, a flight-based leg or a sea-based leg type model, which has a very naturally high evade. So this will guarantee that the moment you activate it, you are probably going to be the fastest person on the field for that 1 turn, which will guarantee that support buff, or that nuke, or even that interruption-based skill to buy you that extra set of time. Now, in terms of the collaboration event, this is going to be more of a rehash, as this was also gone into detail last week, but to explain briefly, this week we'll start the second half of the collaboration dungeon, also with the EX trials that have been live through this week as well for a rehash, for those that have completed it, or for those that have not. But for the second half of this week, we can earn events such as collab Medarotters Samantha and Sloan with their limited time collab skins. In addition, we can also earn a third commemorative nameplate to background profile banner to use, as well as an additional skin. This time, instead of getting another skin for Rock, we are getting a skin for Forte. In this case, it'll be the double X style Violet skin that can be earned as a reward for trading in tickets for. Lastly, you can also gain the reward of a additional BGM added to the event shop rewards list, simply titled Transmission. Now, it is also worth noting that through this event, they were actually very kind enough to introduce a slimmed down version of last year's dungeon, so all players can earn the Navigator Medal and Heart Roll, as well as previous rewards that they perhaps missed on simply by joining late or just have not had the chance to play that long just yet. So very, very good event on that. Lots of events, lots of resources to earn and a lot of things to collect on. definitely want to capitalize on this where you can. Now, with that being said, with the event, it is still ticket-based, just as it has been, so mixed parts are encouraged. But this week, we also see the gold and the red ticket bonuses go live. So naturally, the silver and blue will stick around for another week, as the event is still ongoing. But with this week in particular, Uranade and GutsPower will be highlighting the +3 bonus for the gold tickets, with Fortate at +1, as well with the collaboration skin Arika, also getting a +3 bonus as an additional, and then Samantha and Sloan also getting a +1 in that department. And then, of course, the highlighted gacha banners that are reruns for this week will be giving you the +3 bonus for the red ticket. And I was genuinely surprised by this too, to see that Heart Roll, which was the event reward from last year, is actually also available to give a +3 bonus to for anyone that wants to collect tickets quickly, which is very nice. Naturally, the Fierce Battles will also give you a +1 ticket each with Tank Dunk, Gun Desperado, or Fly Falcon. And then, of course, the Medarotters will also give you a +2 bonus if you are able to equip them on your teams. So naturally, like I mentioned, it is mixed parts encouraged, just like last week. So if you'd like to capitalize on those, you want to take any bonus parts you get and spread load them across the team so that you can maximize that bonus and the payout per run of the dungeon. Now, on the community front, we are still always looking for translators to assist us with ongoing projects. Medarot 3 has been making some very good progress that I've seen, and I hope to hear more good news going forward on that. The Medarot Reloaded manga translation is still in need of a lot of translators and a lot of hands so that we can translate that and see that to completion, so that we can add it on other manga sites for fellow Medarotters to enjoy in English. If you are knowledgeable in coding or cleaning or Japanese and have some time on your hands, we are more than appreciative of any efforts that you'd be willing to provide so that we can see these projects to completion or even work on others, such as Medarots 4, 5, and Navi, which are very popular fan requests that we'd love to see done. We just don't have the manpower or the time to do so without the help to do so. That being said, if you would like to help, feel free to reach out to me or join us in our Discord in the link provided below, and we can get you in touch with the right with the right people and bring you up to speed on what has been finished and what still needs done up to date. Now, at the weekly art highlight, I do want to kind of toot my own horn just a little bit on this one, but not by a lot. This piece here by Twitter user Penguin Kotak is actually my own custom Ori meta that I've been tinkering with for a while and played around with, and actually commissioned him to draw for me just to kind of realize the concept a little more in depth. So fantastic work there. A friend of mine actually mistook it initially for Tiyuga's art, which is a very big compliment to their skill. So fantastic work there, Penguin, my friend, if you are watching. Wonderful art, and thank you again. I do want to highlight this as well. He did also recently finish compiling a Medarot fan book, which is a compilation of other people's OCs and their own bots or bot designs. So definitely a very good pickup to look at as well. If you'd like to look for that, definitely reach out to Penguin on Twitter or in our Discord server, and he'd be more than happy to pass that along to you. And then I'd also like to highlight this piece here by Discord user Wolfie05, who's been in our Discord for a pretty fair amount of time now and making a lot of varied art of different models. And I have to admit, I do have a weakness for Blue Submarine in particular, so I really couldn't help but highlight this piece. So very nice work, Wolfie, well done, and keep up the good work. But that being said, I do believe that covers just about everything for this week's episode. So, like I said, it is going to be a relatively light week in terms of new content, since much of the collaboration details were announced last week, so we already kind of knew what to expect going forward, aside from, of course, details on Uranade and GutsPower. That being said, however, if you'd like to know more, you can follow us below on Facebook at the Medarot News Network page and the Metabots Forever communities on there. You can also reach out to us on Discord in the link provided and in the comments below, and this will allow you to keep an even closer ear to the action on anything that's been going on. This includes any updates on new merchandise that gets released or teased, new games, game translations, my Medarot S videos, or anything else. That Discord server will be the first place you see it before anywhere else. You can also reach out to me personally on Twitter at IsagamiKura, so if you have any questions or feedback or comments, my DMs are always open for that very reason, so don't be a stranger and feel free to stop in and say hello if you'd like to have a chat. Now feel free to also follow these good buddies of mine as well on Twitter. This user here, Louise Lanzarin, or Gecko, at Twitter user GeckoBoyAdvance. In particular, what actually made me find him was a project that he was working on of making a smartwatch face app on the app Facer for Galaxy watches that's Medarot themed. In this particular, he had 3 different color variants of orange, green, and blue, and honestly, I still use it even to this day as my default watch face on my smartwatch. Fantastic work and wonderful art as well. Definitely will not be sorry giving this man a follow. And do also give Twitter user Dust2Meta a follow as well, also known as another fellow Medarotter artist, but in particular, their art specializes in a more minimalistic type of design, using simple lines to highlight lines and angles, and kind of let the imagination do the rest to fill in the blanks. So also a wonderful Medarot artist that you can follow if you'd like to see more in your feed. That being said, I do believe that covers everything like I mentioned, so thanks again for stopping by, folks. It just as you always have. Until next time, this is your host, Kura Isagami of the Medarot News Network, signing out.